All I have here is my El Cheapo dollar store foam board with a really, like a 5-second, really crappy texture put into it. So we're going to see if the paint can really do its magic, because these are pretty crappy textures. We've got two that look the same. One we're going to do as stone, another we're going to do as a brick. We've got one that will be a wood plank, and we've got one that'll just be some like a stucco texture. Again, I've been doing a lot of medieval projects, so this, I mean, these can be used as modern, obviously. I mean, you're gonna find brick everywhere, and stone everywhere, but these can work for many, many, many different scenes, different dioramas. So the first thing we're gonna do, let's do the brick first, I think. And I've just got some random paints. I'm gonna do, looks like flamenco red. I've got these, every time I work with styrofoam after I do my texture, I coat it with one layer, just one coat of 50-50 mix of matte Mod Podge and El Cheapo acrylic black paint. And that will help. It'll make your cheap foam stronger, and it'll make a good base. As long as you don't go too heavy, it'll keep all your texture in there, but it'll make a good base to work off of when you start your paint. And add some depth because of the dark in the back. Find a brush that is not... And I need a dry brush later, so I want to find one that's actually dry. And try not to use it. Okay, let's set this guy over here. Alright, let's do a little flamenco red. I always start out with a base color, whether it's for brick or stone. And I'm going to just lay a little bit right down here. And do a pretty decent base coat. And get down into the grout lines. You don't have to worry about keeping any of the black in there. Actually, if you wanted to do like a different color grout, I'm going to use washes after this, some dark washes to go get down in the nooks and crannies, because I want it on the darker side. But if you wanted to do a lighter grout, you could always do your base layer instead of a black with your Mod Podge. You could do a cream or white, and then you wouldn't have to, you know, try not to get as much down into the nooks and crannies. Or you could, I've seen people do joint compound. I've done that before on a bookshelf that had stone in the back of it. Yeah, you can do all kinds of things. I'm just working with paint today. I'm not going to bust out the joint compound. So there, base layer of red. And since we're going to wait for that to dry, I'm going to go ahead and put a base layer on some of these other colors too, I believe, just to get ahead of the game. And for the stone, you can do grays. You can do like a brown base. I've done that before, which gives it kind of a nice warm texture, warm color. Today I think we're gonna go with just a gray base, so we can really see the difference between the two. And it looks like I've got dark gray, Craft Smart. If my paint comes out, it looks like it's about dead. Come on. Hopefully we'll have enough to get through here. Boy, this texture does not look the best. So hopefully this will turn out. Not my best texturing job by far. And the key is to get enough paint on there to cover, but not to have it globbed on there. Because if you glob it on there too much, you're going to lose some of your texture. And that is the whole point of this project, is to get that texture looking real and make it pop when we do the dry brushing. All right, brick, stone. Let's do some stucco real quick. I think I'm just gonna do a light mocha for base coat on that one. I'm gonna water my paint down just a little bit. Not by watering the paint down, but just putting a little bit of water on my brush before I pick up the paint. And then it won't be too messy. And with the lighter colors like this, I'm going to leave this sit for just a second. And then actually, no, I've got pretty decent coverage on there. We'll see. A lot of the times with the lighter colors like this, because I've got that dark base coat, I'll let it get to the point where it's almost dry, and then I will add another coat on top of it to cover up as much of that dark background. Again, we'll bring some dark back in when we do the washes at the very end. Let me make sure I've got and for the wood plank, what color are we gonna go for? Before I sat down, I just grabbed a bunch of random colors, so we'll see if we've got anything that'll... Let's go for a burnt umber. Let's do a dark wood. Ooh, that's gonna be really dark. Pretty. I go kind of heavy on this one because I want to get down in those, into the grain. Okay. We could get lucky. I think my red will be dry enough to do the scary part. This next part is gonna look, it's gonna look really bad for a while. And kind of, I don't know, cartoonish. Not very realistic, but I promise you there's a method to the madness here. Okay. I'm going to take a tiny little brush, and now I'm going to take about 3 different colors probably. What you want to do is add a bit of variation. So we're going to just pick random bricks, and we're going to give them different colors. And when I do a red like this, I like to do like a darker red, maybe like a golden sunset. That'll work. I've got a cream, I've got a light mocha. We'll go with those. Like I said, bear with me here. It's gonna get weird for a few minutes. red. We'll do a couple next to each other just because. Hopefully you can see that on there well enough. Get some of these moved out of the way. Okay. It's impossible to get red out of my brush, but I really like this stupid little brush. Okay, we'll do some gold. Like I said, it's gonna look funky for a few minutes. Man, all I can smell is Mod Podge. I love the stuff, but oof. Sometimes the stench is a little overpowering when it's right under your nose, huh? Doesn't have to be perfect. That's all we'll do for the gold. We'll do some cream. I never know which ones to color. No matter which ones you do, it'll turn out just fine. But there's always that moment of, is it going to look stupid? Is it going to turn out? I don't know. And in the end, it always turns out. But I overthink things, so that's just me. I think that's all I'm going to do for that one. That looks like our stone is about ready, and as luck would have it, I'm going to use the same light mocha to do pretty much the same technique on this. I'm going to do some in mocha and some in like a darker gray. Or no, did we use the dark gray? We did use the dark gray. We'll do some elephant gray. A little sloppy there, so we'll go ahead and paint that one in too. Okay, that's enough for the mocha. Do a little elephant gray. Tell that paint's a lot newer. Man, my other one was getting kind of thick. Okay, we'll leave that one like it. See, I said it. It's gonna look pretty cartoony, but we'll trust the process and see what happens. All right, wood plank. We've got burnt umber on there, so we'll go for some melted chocolate. A little lighter. You don't want a full coverage on it, just kind of add some variation. But go in the direction of the grain, not against it. Against it is for dry brushing. You will see. I think that's all I'm gonna do on that one for now. And our stucco, unfortunately, does not want to dry. And if I turn on my fan, it's going to be really loud. So I'm going to be bold here. And I'm going to dip into a little bit of water and back into that golden sunset that I already had out for the brick. And I'm just going to kind of add a little bit. Here and there. And then we'll let those two colors dry together. Okay. Now I'm going to pause here for a second and I'm going to let these things dry. And then when I come back, we're going to give everything a coat of Mod Podge. Ooh, there's a big, nice bristle in there because I was using an old crappy brush. Actually, you know what? No, I think, yes, I am. I'm going to let them dry and I will be back. I totally spaced off. I have to do the dry brushing before I do the Mod Podge. So while we're waiting for the stucco to dry its last little bit, we will do the dry brushing on these because I have my dry brush. Now, as it's, I don't know if you've done dry brushing before, I'm sure you have, but just like its name, it's just a really, really, really dry, and I use kind of a rough, crappy brush that's seen a few things. And I just put a little bit down, grab a paper towel, dip it in the paint, dab off quite a bit. Oops, shut my fan off so we can hear. And then for the wood, like I said, to do the dry brushing, you're going to go against the grain. And I think I might even have a little bit too much paint on there. Oops, as I hit my phone. And all you want to do is pick up some of those highlights. Simple as that. And we're going to go in a second here with a lighter color too. But since these are all getting the same color for dry brushing, we're just going to go right ahead and hit the rest of them. When I do my dry brushing, I usually, on a stone or a brick, I pick a top and I go vertical. And with the you'll see with this one, it's not as, I go up and down. When we do the lighter color, I'll just do from the top just to hit the high points. But for this one, it's safe to go both directions vertically. Just kind of a dusting. And, you know, if my texture was a little bit better done, it would be looking better than it was right now. But you'll see, it'll get there. And yes, I keep hitting my camera with my paintbrush because I insist on using one that's like 3 feet long. We're going to call that good on the dry brushing on that one for now with that color. Got a little heavy on that one, but once we put the wash on, it'll take it down like it will with these horribly bright cream colored spots. This one, I'm going to wait and do the lighter color on that one. Do a little antique parchment. I usually don't go full on white for the last dry brushing. I don't know. I mean, even if you go super, 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 super light, it just, I'm never quite happy with it. And like I said, for this one, we're going to pick the top and the bottom, and we're just going to go, not too much on there. Just go from the top. Again, if my texture was better, with a stucco, it doesn't really matter. I go whichever direction because it's just going to pick up the high points. I just like a lot of variation in my stucco texture. Now on the wood, you want to get it a really dry brush. Go really light. I don't know if you can see that. There we go. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to put a coat of matte Mod Podge on all of these. And then we'll get the washes on, and I guarantee they'll look a million times better than they do now. I'll be right back. And we're back. Okay. These aren't completely... The Mod Podge is pretty much dry. I'm not going to stress now because these are just samples. If I was doing my actual project, you know, that I wanted to look its best, then yes, I would wait until the Mod Podge was completely dry. And the whole point of the Mod Podge is pretty much so that when we apply the washes, it doesn't rehydrate our paint and take away the work that we've already put into it. And it's magic, you'll see. Yeah, this one's... Our stucco's just been a pain in the butt all the way around. A couple of these I'm pretty sure I'll end up doing a little bit more dry brushing, like the wood, after I do the wash. Just because, I don't know, maybe it's because I use that dark umber. I don't normally do... I like dark wood, but I don't normally do quite that dark. So we might play around with that a little more after we do the wash. And you can look up recipes for fancy washes. Some people add dish soap to theirs, and I think a couple of these do have, I think my green and my brown, yeah, when I shake them, they bubble up. They do have a drop or two of dish soap in them, and all the dish soap does is it makes it smoother and it gets down into the cracks and crevices easier. But honestly, you could, this one, the black that I use right now, is just really watered down acrylic paint, like water with a bit of black paint in it is all. If you want to use the dish soap, you can. And yes, it does. If you're doing stonework, especially like if you were doing like a cobblestone or something, it would help it flow down into all the cracks. Especially something that is going to be sitting level like this. Oh, and when you apply your wash, you can do it different ways too. You can... I usually apply it when it's flat, depending if I can. But if I'm doing a room box, obviously, and I'm working on a wall, if I can, I will lay it down flat to apply the wash, and then I can decide whether or not I want to let it dry flat, or if I want to set it up and let it dry vertically and just let the wash run down as it wants to. Either way, it depends on the look you're going for. If you let it dry vertically, you'll get more little streaks and it'll look a little more weathered. If you let it dry flat, then of course it'll be a little heavier in the grout lines and whatnot. Play around with it. Start with samples like this and get a feel for it and see what look you're going for. It'll help you decide more when you get to your project. I usually do black wash first, and then if I add a little bit of green or brown, I do it right on top of the black. The green and the brown won't lend a lot of color, but like if I'm doing the bottom of a wall, I'll do a little bit of green down in the bottom for like a slight, a slight mildew or mossy effect. The brown will just make it look a little grungier. Depends on what you're going for. And when I do my wash, I literally just squirt it on there. And then I take a brush and kind of smush it all around and cover it all up. And then I keep a paper towel handy and I kind of blot it and take some of it back off. You can even take a paper towel to it if you'd like to take some. Take some of it off in the high spots, but we're just going to let this chill and see how it dries like this. I'm not going to blot it with a paper towel for this one because I kind of want a grungier look, and it will, trust me, it won't dry this dark. I'll go a little black on this one. And this is why I use silicone mats, because I'm freaking messy, so. Comes with the territory. Leave that one. This one I am going to blot a little bit so then you can see it just gets down into the wood grain. I like that. And instead of going, it doesn't really matter that I've got black on here, but I think I'm going to do more of a brown and a green on this one so we can see how that looks. A little too much green. A little much on there. I know, I keep hitting the camera. Sorry about that, guys. I'm going to do a dash of black, just like, let's pretend that this is like a corner of a wall. So I'm going to do, well, I don't know why I grabbed my green, I wanted the black. I'm going to do a little, kind of grunge up the edge here, like if this was in an old tavern, if there was stucco between wood slats, then I would grunge up the edges where all the dirt would collect. All right, and now that these look like a total mess, once again, we're going to let them dry, and then we will come back and see how they look. What a difference drying time makes, huh? Look at how that wash just kind of evened everything out. Remember how much was on that one? Now it just looks kind of grunged up. And that's what we wanted. There's a couple spots where the wash hasn't quite dried yet, but I think we'll be okay. Sorry. God, you guys are gonna go deaf. One of my lights just freaking died, so I'm just trying to move things around. Get it so you can see. Okay, now you could leave them like this. I think I am going to, obviously if you don't want them this dark, you can use a lighter wash, or you can do, I think I'm going to do a little bit of dry brushing on them just to lighten up the high points on these, and we will see. I never know from time to time when I do them. It all depends on when you get to this point how it looks. If you dry brush before you add your wash, then it's going to be more even and it's going to tone it down quite a bit. Like these are pretty dark. Yet if you do the wash and then you do a dry brush, sometimes the dry brushing can make it look kind of dusty. Or, you know, it depends on the look you're going for. If it's exterior walls, like if this brick was outdoors, then a little dust wouldn't really matter. You know, maybe that's the look you're going for. So we're just gonna see what happens. We're gonna try a little bit more, and I think I'm gonna use a little bit of the light mocha, and then if that doesn't get it where I want it, then we'll use a little bit of the antique parchment and just kind of play with it. Like I said, it's different every time. You don't know what you're going to end up with. So we'll play. You can see all the wet spots from the wash. As soon as I tipped it up, it all kind of leaked down. But that's okay. I'm cool with the streaks. I know it's hard to tell on camera, but in person, this makes a lot more of a difference than you can see. In person, you can see it much better. That's what I'm trying to say. It's been a long day, and words are hard. I think I am going to end up using a little bit of the antique white also. I don't usually do that much on the stucco. I think I'll do a little bit of the antique white. Or antique parchment, I should say. But I'm not going to add any of the mocha. Looks like some nice roughed up, beat up wood. Like for an exterior on a building. Like my storefront, I really roughed it up and I wanted it to look quite weathered. Yeah, I like that. We'll do just a little bit of the parchment. Remember, tap it really good on your paper towel. You want to get most of it off of there. You can always add more, but you can't really take it off. There's the wood. Ooh, got way too much on the edge there. And remember, go from the top, just one direction. Pick out the high points. Wish you guys could see it in person. I'm sure it looks much better to my eye here than it does in the light. In the camera. There's the stone. See, when you add that tan, it just gives it just such a warm color to what would normally be a cold gray. Unless that's the look you're going for. If you want dark, dank, cold dungeon somewhere, you might not want any warm tan. See that light color on that stucco gives it that nice dusty look. That's what I like. So imagine if you did a wall in an old tavern and you had that worn wood next to the stucco like that. Obviously I got a little too much dry brushing on my edges there, but you could always go back in and darken it up with more wash. Play around until you get it to look like you want it to. You can add all these textures together. And because we used a lot of the same colors, you can mix and match. But that's really about it. That's how I do my textures. These are a little darker than I normally do. But it depends on what I'm working on. Yeah, that got a little too bright. A little too much paint on my brush there. But like I said, that's the magic of a wash. We saw how much it darkened. Remember how ugly these were and how scary they were? And how dark it made them. So, it's just a matter of playing around until you get your technique down. Like I said, if I would have started out with better brick textures or, you know, stone textures than this, I would have had a better turnout. But for my 5-second cheap foam board textures, they did their purpose. They served their purpose. And that's about it. Thanks guys for popping in, and I'll see you next time. Bye.